I got to graduate school. I was in drama school. I'm 24, 25 years old. And one of my classmates had gone through this training, which was called the New Warrior Training Adventure. And I was like, and I saw him, this guy, John, I saw him change over the couple of years. And I was like, John, I want to do what you're doing. And he said, well, they have a training every couple of months, like every few times a year. And we were in Milwaukee at the time. And I reached out to the center director of the local group that was putting on this training, and his name is Carl Larson. And so I talked to Carl. I said, my friend John told me about this. He said, I should talk to you about this. And he said, well, it's a pretty serious investment in yourself, and it's a chance for you to really uncover what does it mean to be a man. It's basically a support group, all this stuff. And I said, it sounds great. I said, how much does it cost? And he said, it's $550. And I said, Carl, I'd love to, but my first response, which I sort of was in training, was, no, I can't do this. I said, no, it sounds great, but I just can't do it. I can't afford it. And I was ready to end of story. He said, hold on a second. He said, does this mean something to you? I said, what do you mean? It's like, well, do you feel like you would get value out of this training? I said, yeah, I think I definitely would get value out of this training. He said, do you feel like this is an investment that you could get a return on over time? I said, yeah. He said, this is what I'm willing to do. He said, how much can you afford for this thing right now? And I said, $50. I got $50. I can get $50. He said, okay, if you can pay $50 now, I will set it up. You can do this training now. And in terms of paying the other $500 off, you can pay it off at whatever timetable you want.
Welcome to the Kindness Factor podcast, sharing life-changing personal stories of the transformational impact of deep kindness. Hosted by
Dr. Elia, the happiness doctor,
and Randy McNeely, the kindness giver. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome to another episode of the Kindness Factor podcast. I'm Randy McNeely, your co-host, joined by Dr. Elia Gourgouris, the happiness doctor, our another wonderful co-host, and we are thrilled today to have the opportunity to be able to talk with an amazing leadership guru, Alain Hunkins. He helps people, I should say, he helps high-achieving people become high-achieving leaders. He's got over a 20-year career. Alain has worked with 2,000 groups of leaders in 25 countries during that career. His clients include Walmart, Pfizer, Citigroup, General Electric, State Farm Insurance, and a whole bunch of others.
I've never heard of these names. What are these companies? They're all
Microsoft, all those good companies. In addition, this is a great thing. In addition to being a leadership speaker, a consultant, trainer, and coach, Alain is the author of an amazing book called Cracking the Leadership Code: 3 Secrets to Building Strong Leaders, which was published in March of 2020. And it was endorsed by some amazing leadership luminaries, Jim Kouzes, am I pronouncing that right?
Kouzes, yeah, Jim Kouzes, yeah, another fellow Greek. Yep.
Barry Posner and Marshall Goldsmith. He's also a faculty member of the Duke Corporate Education. Alain his writing has been featured in Fast Company, Inc., Forbes, Chief Executive, Chief Learning Officer, and Business Insider. And there's so much more we could say, but we're going to just jump right in now. Alain, thank you. Alain.
Yes.
See, his name is a French name.
Yes.
And so I'm going to let him say it because I know I'm not saying it right, but
No, you're doing a great job, right? Yeah, my name is pronounced Alain. It's the French version of Alan. It's a super common name in a French language speaking country, which would be great, I suppose, if I grew up in a French language speaking country. I grew up in Flushing, Queens, and New York City. So anyway, and I have an older brother named Serge. Very common French names.
Yes.
Well, we are thrilled to have you here. Thank you for joining us today.
Thrilled to be here. Thanks.
Welcome, my friend. And just so you guys know, I've been on his podcast. He's just a phenomenal human first, never mind leader and family man and author and all the other accolades. More importantly, he has a huge heart and a very keen and very curious intellect, which is why his, I think, book is so successful too. We have much to learn from this man. Welcome to the show, and let's start off.
Thank you.
Let's start
Everyone that we've interviewed at some point or another have had what we like to call a kindness hero. Someone who touched their hearts maybe early on in their lives, maybe later on, and it was so transformative that they themselves became service-oriented leaders and people and so on. So and a lot of people say, well, that's not an easy question to answer. I have more than one kindness hero. So we'd like you to pick one if you can.
Yeah, no, I know. Thanks for this question. I've been thinking about this. I want to share about a kindness here and a little preface to this kindness here, like how I got there. Because, sometimes we think of these kindness heroes as someone who's been in our lives probably all the time. I mean, a parent or someone like this. But sometimes a kindness hero can drop in just the right person at the right time in the right place and make an impact that really sets me on a course, completely different trajectory. So a little background on this before I get to the kindness hero. So, and some people know the story if they've read my book, and I've talked about this pretty openly. So my mother and my grandmother are both Holocaust survivors. My mother was born in 1935 in Belgium. She's from Polish Jews, or her family, and all of which to say, I share all that here mainly. And my grandfather was killed in the Holocaust. My grandmother moved in when my parents split up. So I was raised by two Holocaust survivors. As you can imagine, they had lots of post-traumatic stress. And in my family growing up, trusting other people was not something that we did. You literally hid from the world. I mean, there was for good reason, right? I mean, they came by it honestly. And yet so many of the internalized messages I got were just keep your head down, keep your nose clean, do your own thing, all this stuff. So I share this all because I got to graduate school. I was in drama school. I'm 24, 25 years old, and I'm on the clock. I'm an adult man. And yet I feel like I never got the instruction manual. Somehow I never had any mentors in my life that really felt like I just didn't have anyone in my life,
I
you
can
know,
relate to that 100%. My
you know,
parents were great, never taught me that stuff because that was their
yeah.
generation. They didn't know how to do it.
Didn't know how to. And again, I'm not here to blame and shame. It's just
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
and
yeah.
this is a very common story. So I'm in my early 20s, and one of my classmates had gone through this training, which was called the New Warrior Training Adventure. And I was like, and I saw him, this guy John. I saw him change over the couple of years, and I was like, John, I want to do what you're doing. And he said, well, they have a training every couple of months, like every few times a year. And we were in Milwaukee at the time. And I reached out to the center director of the local group that was putting on this training, and his name is Carl Larson. And so I talked to Carl. I said, my friend John told me about this. He said, I should talk to you about this. And he said, well, it's a pretty serious investment in yourself, and it's a chance for you to really uncover what does it mean to be a man. It's basically a support group, all this stuff. And I said, it sounds great. I said, how much does it cost? And he said, it's $550. So you got to remember, I'm a grad student. I've got
And back
zero.
then, that's a lot of money. That's like
A lot of
$5,000
money. This is
now.
a
So yeah.
lot of money. And I had no money. I was in school. I was like working three jobs, trying to pay my rent. And I said, Carl, I'd love to, but my first response, which I sort of was in training, was, no, I can't do this. I said, no, it sounds great, but I just can't do it. I can't afford it. And I was ready to end of story. He said, hold on a second. He said, does this mean something to you? I said, what do you mean? It's like, well, do you feel like you would get value out of this training? I said, yeah, I think I definitely would get value out of this training. He said, do you feel like this is an investment that you could get a return on over time? I said, yeah. He said, this is what I'm willing to do. He said, how much can you afford for this thing right now? And I said, $50. I got $50. I can get $50. He said, okay, if you can pay $50 now, I will set it up. You can do this training now. And in terms of paying the other $500 off, you can pay it off at whatever timetable you want. That's on you.
Wow.
Whenever
Wow.
you want. There's no, you don't have to do this in a year or 2 years, like whenever you are able to do that. And I went, and no one had ever done that for me in my life. No one had ever seen me and I don't know how much he knew me or didn't know me, but it felt like someone was reaching out and giving me a hand. And I said, yeah, okay. And I did the training, and it was one of the most transformative experiences of my life. And I think in some ways set me on the course to do the work that I do now. In fact, I'm not some ways, I know it did. I know it did because on that weekend, I got a mission of service in the world, which I still have, which is to create a vibrant and alive world by kindling the fire of brilliance. And I learned that on that weekend, and I met other men who were role models. I went, oh, you mean you can be strong and sensitive? You can do both at the same time? And I saw these role models of these were the kind of men I wanted to be. And so many of those men became my mentors over the next years. And
Mhm.
so I ended up becoming a certified leader to lead this training over the next 10 years. I went back to staff the weekends. I've staffed like 40 of those weekends. I'm still very involved with the community. And I cannot tell you how much pride I would have when I could pull out my checkbook and write another $50, put that in, like, no, another $100, put that, whatever it was, and then finally pay it off, right? And I just think about how someone in that moment paid, trusted in me, was kind and, invested in me. And I just think about the returns that gives. And, I'd like to think that I could be that way for someone else in my life at some point. But that's definitely a moment of kindness and a person of kindness. And I haven't reached out to Carl. I did thank him back then, but it would be great to reach out to him again to let him know the difference that he made in my life.
All right, you made a commitment right here live on television, on this podcast, I mean. So
Yeah.
you have, before the end of the year, you need to reach out to this
Yeah.
man and
Yeah.
say happy holidays and thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to follow up with you on that one.
Cool. Yeah.
Think about what you talked about here, because you had an experience.
Hmm.
You had an experience, first of all. You had multiple experiences, but the first experience was, just watching your friend and seeing how he changed and thinking, I want that in my life. I'd like to find out what's happening in his life so that I can, see if I can get some of that for me, right?
Hmm.
So that was the first experience. And the fact that he was willing to share and say, here's Carl's number, you give him a call. So then you had your second experience with him being willing to share. Then the third experience, calling up Carl and listening to him and then saying, Carl, I can't afford this. I can't. And him being willing to say, okay, I'm willing to work with you because I see you, Alain. I see into your heart, and he was asking, would this give you a return on investment over time? And he heard you.
Hmm.
And how did think about the impact that just that little thing, you've already expressed it. There was an impact there because he showed that he valued and appreciated you. And he unleashed what I call the VA factor, the value and appreciation factor. It made you want to go forward and trust him.
I think those couple of questions he asked you were to qualify you. Like, are you serious? Are you real? Do you think this will make an impact in your life? And if you are, let's make it work out somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing there is, I think he believed in me more than I believed in myself at that moment. And, as I've had another mentor since say, sometimes in life, we have to borrow other people's beliefs in ourselves when we're feeling down. Because we all, it's not like we go up and we stay up. We go up and we go down. And there are days where I have to borrow someone else's belief, and there's days they have to borrow mine. So that's definitely a day
that's such a great point. We don't talk about that enough. I'm really glad you brought that up because we have all, when we're on top of the world, we can do that for somebody else. But life, like you said, is not like this trajectory always. There are ups and downs.
Yeah.
And can I ask you something? This is very personal. You and I have been friends for a while.
Yeah.
Are you good at asking for help? Because I struggle with that, and I'm trying to get better in my older age.
I am really working on that now. This is one of the things I'm, because part of it is I have this, identity is such a strong driver of behavior. And part of my identity is I want to be seen as competent and conscientious. Like, oh, I'm so thoughtful and competent. And when I feel like when I ask for help, it butts up against my identity belief but I'm competent and that I should be able to figure this out myself. And I'm really doing some checking this year and humility and ego dropping of just, I've never done, I need help, and asking for that. And it's hard. It's hard.
I mean, as human beings, can we be competent and also from time to time on the receiving end of help? Can those two?
Hello, my wonderful friends. Thank you for joining us today and for your listening attention as we take a short break to introduce you to our partners in kindness, Kindness Worldwide. I invite you to listen to this little video clip, and if what you hear resonates, please take the time to go and visit Kindness Worldwide and make a donation to help them in their mission to create cultures of kindness in communities around the world. No donation is too small, and every little bit helps. Thank you so much for your kindness.
When a wallet was returned just moments after it was lost, a purpose was found. This one act of kindness inspired the formation of the nonprofit Kindness Worldwide to create a culture of kindness in communities throughout the world. Kindness Week Worldwide mobilized the entire community in York, Pennsylvania, featuring initiatives and playbook programs including blood drives, kindness cards, K-12 and college students embracing kindness, and an innovative means of community policing, kindness citations. If something so magical can happen in York, Pennsylvania, the same and other inspirations can happen anywhere and everywhere. Our Screen Scenes initiative featuring the Kindness Factor will showcase these many stories of kindness. Let's include your community among them. Kindness is the heartbeat of the world. Together, with your support, we can make all its hearts beat as one.
Exist.
They can, of course they can. It's just, I think what happens is when those, and if you're familiar with the idea of internal family systems and parts, I think there's that competent part, that served me in some ways, but that's not the whole me. That's just a part of me. But when that part is so blended with what's going on, it can't see there are any other options. So it's like that we said before, can you be strong and sensitive? Of course, but human beings can only focus on one conscious thing at a time. And so being able to step back and hold the paradox of, two things. Yeah, can I be humble and ask for help? And can I be competent? And can I realize that I am a multiplicity of things. And there's parts of me that are super competent and ready to go, and parts of me that couldn't do anything. And it's funny because if you said, okay, I like go change the oil in your car, like I can't do it. I have no problem going to the mechanic. So it's interesting how we are very selective about what we think we have to be competent in, right? Because there are things like, fix the roof on your house. I know my skill set, that would be not good, so I don't have any problems with asking for help in certain categories. It's just other categories that I, believe that I should know. And where's that come from? So it's a great question.
Well, let me throw something out there that came to my mind as we're talking about this, because in reality, isn't part of being competent having the ability to recognize when you need to reach out and ask for help?
That's a great point,
Randy. You would think, Randy. You'd think, yeah.
It's too easy, and I'm right there with you guys. I have a hard time. I recognize, it's easy sometimes for me to recognize when I need to ask for help, but getting over the hump of feeling like people are going to see me as less than, because I'm asking for help. For me, it's like an ego thing or a pride thing. I don't know. Being able to, it's hard to say, but I think about it. Being part of being competent is recognizing when you need to ask the help, and then having the humility to be able to say, I can do this, and it's okay.
And Randy, you and I have been friends for 20 years. I actually think that you're better than you think. You do ask for help with the two of us and our friendship and so on. I mean, you've done that with me, and so I feel like you're better than at least I am in asking. Like I feel like you do it more than you think, maybe.
Well, I guess it depends on the situation, Elia. Because in certain areas I am, and I have asked. When, like, for perfect example, Elia was so kind. Elia and others were so kind when I needed to ask for help when my wife, had cancer and stuff. But there's other areas. If I think I should know it, like Alain was talking about, I have a hard time because I feel it's that self-talk in the head. Hey, dummy, you should know this. You don't need to ask somebody else for that.
Yeah.
When you said about the roof, fixing the roof or getting your oil changed, which I don't know how to do any of that stuff. Yeah, that's a lot easier to ask for help because that's not in our skill set. The help that we're talking about is maybe more vulnerable, like maybe a more emotional help, or that's the tricky part because getting something done and ask for help, that's easy. Like I pay somebody else to do, that's fine. But the stuff that I'm really struggling today, that's hard for me.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd say the other thing there too for me is you talk about different skill sets. I think sometimes also my judgment of I should be competent are things that are in adjacent skill sets to the ones that I have, right? So oil change is so far away from my skill sets, like no. Whereas
like miles out there.
Yeah, like so for example, being an entrepreneur, like I know how to deliver content and create all this stuff, but sales and marketing, it's not the same skill. Yet I somehow think I should be able to do more of this myself, when in fact it's like changing the oil. Why do I think I can do it? But there's this belief that, I should be able to figure this out myself. I should, and it goes down to, that sense of, it's what do they call it in psychology? The illusory superiority bias. We tend to think we're better than we are. in certain areas, like, oh, 95% of the population thinks they're above average drivers. And that's just, it's just, they're not.
Right here.
Yeah,
But I
exactly.
know
Of
that I
course.
am, though.
I know it, but I know. And it's that belief and that sense of, when we believe something, it feels absolutely rock solid certain. And so I think it's a good idea to maybe do an interrogation of our beliefs, an investigation, an interrogation of what is that belief? Where does it come from? And how is that serving me? And how is that belief getting in my way?
Well, think about everything we've talked about here is kindness to self.
Yeah.
You think about
Oh, good one.
kindness to self. I mean, Elia and I have had multiple guests on where we've talked about self-care and self-love, and what we're really talking about is kindness to self. Taking the time, I like what you said, examine where we're at, examine where we're at in our thinking and other things like that, and how we're communicating in our heads,
Yeah.
whether it's out because I know this. I've got an expert self-critic inside my head, and if I allow him to come out,
Yeah.
it's a bummer of a day. It
Yeah.
really is because and the it's not only affects me, it affects how I interact with other people, and so I have to really work hard not to allow that self-critic to come out. And
Yeah.
so I love what you're talking about, Alain. I love it.
Well, it's interesting. As you say that, Randy, what comes up to me is as I do that examination of self or interrogation of self, I have to do it from a place of compassion and care. Because I can also do that examination, interrogation from a place of criticism, right? Because I have a strong critic. And if I'm going in there already with the critic armed and ready to go, I'm going to see what I want to see, right? So the critic's going to find the criticism. It's not going to come from a place of compassion and care.
And it's yeah, and there's not going to see the things that are there in plain sight, but are not seen because you're looking for the dark instead of the light.
Yeah, it's selective. It's very selective in terms of what we pick out, which we do all the time. We are always picking and choosing from, the billions of gigabytes of information that are coming in. We pick and choose based on the story we want to tell, which is based on our beliefs, based on our values.
My
How do you
goodness.
change the story you tell yourself, though? I mean, because I see you brought up the story. I love that. If because we all tell stories about our past, even about
Hmm.
our present, and perhaps
Yeah.
projecting it into the future as well. How do
Hmm.
you change your story if this story isn't working anymore? Basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great question. I think for me, how do I change the story? For one thing, I need to go back and look at the data set of alternate stories. So what are the other stories that I haven't been telling that may also be true? That's one
Mm.
thing. Another way to do it too is to ask other people, is get their feedback on how do you see me?
Yes.
How do you see me showing up? Because they tend to be a lot kinder on us than we are on ourselves, right? Just 'cause they don't have the same kind of level of no one can ever criticize me as much as I criticize myself, right? No one can. They just can't even compete. And so I think
Oh, good.
it's reaching out to other people and getting and being like, how do you see me? And I think most of us, or many of us, certainly don't have a lot of experience with ever asking that kind of question. And we can go through our entire lives never getting that level of honesty from other people. And yet, if we ask, we just have opened a door that most people are willing to go through.
My gosh, the time has absolutely
I know
flown.
it's so good. We could talk for like this is only part one because dude, you're so good and more than anything else. And Randy, this is why I'm so glad he's on our show.
Yeah,
When I think about you, Alan, it's thought provoking.
Thanks.
Because you think in a way, and you're actually able to articulate, even though there may be deeper concepts and maybe not quite as easy, but you articulate in a way that's easily understood, which I think that's part of why your book was has been so successful too.
Thanks.
So
Thanks.
thank you again. All right, Randy, this is our final part. This is our final test.
okay. Elaine, the last thing we do at the end of
Hmm.
the show is ask our guests to think of three pearls of wisdom, three nuggets that you would like to share with our audience related to kindness or how something that's inspiration that they can use going forward.
Wow. Okay.
Put you
Well,
on the spot. Three
put me on
nuggets.
the spot. It's funny because we'll have to see what two and three jump in, but number one just jumped into my head immediately. And number one was don't wait. Like don't wait for kind. I mean, I'm thinking on a whole bunch. Well, I'm getting all a little choked up. I'm thinking my father passed away a few years ago, right? And I'm just thinking about the conversations that we had, the conversations that we never had,
We never had, I know.
all those conversations that we never had, the opportunities for that. And I remember that sense of, at the end of the day, I guess you could say it's all love. right? And so in terms of kindness and love, which maybe those words aren't the same, but they're close cousins at least, reach out to those people that you love and express it more explicitly than you think you have to or want to. Be more overt in your demonstrations of kindness. You won't regret them. So that's number one. Can that be number two and three too?
Well, by the way, before you go to two and three, I'll buy you a little bit more time. Randy has this wonderful saying that I've adopted, which is this: that kindness is love in action.
Mm,
And Randy reminds me of that every single day, because kindness is love in action.
It
That's what it
really
is.
is.
So it's beautiful.
It's
yeah.
it's like kindness is like the syringe that
Hmm.
allows the liquid inside.
Nice.
We're able to shoot it in, or kindness is the fuel in our car,
Yeah,
or
Nice.
love is the fuel in the
it's
car, and
beautiful.
kindness is the vehicle.
So
Awesome.
that's the relationship when you asked if they're close cousins. No, that's the relationship. It's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. So number two would be think of every day as a blank canvas, and when you get up in the morning, set an intention of how you're going to paint the picture of kindness that day. So,
Mm,
right, just think,
Love
and
that.
there's so many different ways to do that. But rather than thinking that kindness is something that you react to, is what if you lead with kindness? What if you're proactive with kindness? What if you set the intention with kindness? So I would say like be intentional about, I mean, look at your day. Like I have a meeting here. Where's an opportunity for kindness to infuse kindness into everything else? Oh, I'm going to the grocery store. Where's there an opportunity to be, you know, for me to be kind to the automatic checkout robot right now? As I'm realizing how few people I actually interact with, but other people, you get the whoever's waiting
that's funny.
online for
Okay.
the auto checkout with me now,
Yeah, you can
as
let
it
somebody go in
were.
front of you, or
Yeah,
somebody,
exactly.
if you've got 20 things and they've got two, you could say, hey, you could just step right in front of me.
Yeah, yeah. And then I guess the third one, kind of to bookend the beginning of the day, is that take some time at the end of your day to reflect on just those moments of kindness that you had today and to celebrate them and know that those moments in and of themselves are enough. Because let's face it, tomorrow is not promised. And so just that sense of, and this is so many studies have shown this, we have this myth that we live that if when I get to here, then I will be happy. When I get to here, then I can show kindness. It's all backwards. Like you will get like it's about the process. And
You'll
so
get here by showing kindness.
you'll get there. And so you want to have a happy and kinder life. Don't wait for things to happen and then you'll get to it. So
Right.
reflect and appreciate the kindness and just realize how many, and if you extrapolate this to, just realizing someone made the toothpaste that you bought at the store today in a factory. Like if you start realizing
Mm.
this is the level of interconnection of everyone on this planet is doing something that is supporting somebody else. I forget who said it exactly, but you would bend down on your knees and kiss the ground with just how much love and kindness makes the world go round. I mean,
Great,
it's
great
really
nuggets,
simple.
great reminders. Amazing interview. Like
Fantastic.
really, like you're golden, man. I love you so much, and thanks for sharing your wisdom and your big smile. How can people get a hold of you if they want to follow what you're doing and learn more about your services and your books and all that stuff? What's the best way
Awesome.
to connect with you?
Yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn. Again, my name is Alain, AlainHunkins. And if you want to learn more about my work, you can go to alainhunkins.com. And there's all sorts of listings there. You can also follow me on Forbes, forbes.com/Hunkins. You can read, I write an article at least once a month. I've got about 50 articles there currently, about once a month. So you can read the Forbes articles there. And if anything resonates for you, please reach out. Please reach out.
Thank
Well,
you, thank you, thank you.
thank
Wow.
you so much. Thank you so much to our audience. Thank you for taking the time to listen today. You could have been doing other things, and we appreciate you taking the time to listen. And just remember,
With
think,
kindness.
take just a minute
No,
and think about, what did I learn? How does it apply to me? And what am I going to do about it? And now remember, with kindness,
kindness.
everybody,
Everybody wins.
everybody wins.
Everybody wins.
Thank you so
That's it.
much.
Thank you.